So we literally only have 2 episodes left of Succession as of the filming of this video. That means that we're gonna need some books to read. So I'm going to, well, no, I just think it'd be fun. I should have called this Films and Books you can read/watch to pair with Succession. So I wonder if I'll get copyrighted if I use a clip from Succession. Probably. Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. For those of you who are big fans of Succession, I include myself in this category as a big fan of Succession. I thought it would be fun. This video was inspired by a video I saw from Monica at Dog-Eared Musings. Her title of her video was, book pairing for Love is Blind. I'm literally going to call this video Book Pairings for Succession because I have 5 fiction books to recommend today if you are a fan of Succession. And it's not Electric Circus. So I just Googled The Electric Circus by Timothy Lipton. And there's actually there's actually a link for it in Storygraph. It is about a young man making his way through the world. It's set in 2 different time periods. It kind of switches back and forth. The circus part is a metaphor for the anxiety of modern life. It's exactly what Roman says at the dinner table in that clip. Anyway, I really wanted to include the clip, but I'm a little nervous about getting copyrighted, so I'm just going to make a link for the clip below from, I think it's season 2, episode 4.
I hear that. Are you a reader?
Which is
Me? Oh, big time, yeah.
Can you recommend anything that Oprah isn't pushing?
Right. Oh, sure, I can. I rather enjoyed The Electric Circus.
It's, season 2, episode 5, where Roman's at the dinner table and they're talking and they ask Roman if he reads and he comes up with this book, The Electric Circus. If you know, you know. If you didn't know before, now you know. It's hilarious. I find these things so funny. I don't know why it all cracks me up so much. So I'm leaving nonfiction recommendations out for the moment. I'm only going to recommend fiction books. I have 5 books to recommend. If you love Succession and you're not sure what you're going to do when the show is over, here are some books that you could read that might scratch the same itch as Succession. Now, I'm not suggesting that anything could be quite as good because the writing on Succession is phenomenal. The characterization on Succession is phenomenal. But I think that these books might be kind of fun and have similar themes and explore similar dynamics like family dynamics and the ultra rich and power relationships. So I'm excited to share these with you. Wait till the end of the video because I have some honorable mentions of books that are mentioned in the TV show that might also be fun to pick up and read. So the first book that I'm going to recommend is one that I've seen on a couple of lists. It's called The Nest by Cynthia Sweeney. And this is a story, I read it a couple of years ago, and it's about a family that is coming into a big inheritance. They are all very childish. They all kind of badly behaved, and they're all vying for position for elements of this inheritance. It says, a wickedly smart, funny, and deeply felt debut novel about 4 adult siblings and the fate of their long depended upon family inheritance. I mean, it's on those lists for good reason because it has a lot of the elements that we see in Succession, minus the management of the firm, I guess, minus all of the business stuff that goes along with the management of the firm, although there is a little bit of that in terms of, because there's an investment, the book is called The Nest because the investment is this nest, and the value of that investment has gone up and up and up, and they've been counting on that money to solve a number of different problems for each different family. They're all counting on this money. So there's one character who's like a reckless older brother. You know, there's one who's just been freshly released from rehab, you know, and has all of the elements in the characterizations as well as the characters in Succession. And it really demonstrates what money does to relationships in the same way that Succession highlights what money and power does to family dynamics and relationships. It's really good. It's really fun. And I definitely recommend it if you like Succession. It's very enjoyable. The next one, which I've been thinking about a lot because there's been lots of conversation in my little corner of BookTube about Curtis Sittenfeld. I'm going to recommend Prep. I read it ages ago, and she's got other books that might fit the bill as well. So you could read several of her titles. Rodham would be another one maybe that you might want to read. But what's great about Prep is that it tells the story of Lee Fiora, who is a 14-year-old, and she leaves her family behind in Indiana to attend a very prestigious prep school in Massachusetts. It's a coming-of-age story, but it's also set in this ultra-rich community and a prep school environment, which makes me think a lot about the kids in Succession. So I think that this could be another good title to turn to once Succession is over. And I think I'm going to reread Prep once Succession is over, just for fun, because it's such a good book. Next, we have The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith. This might not seem like the most obvious choice, but I really love this book, and I kind of wanted an excuse to talk about it. So it's about this character, Tom Ripley, who gets really kind of enamored and obsessed with wealthy people, and he really wants to make his way in the world by whatever means necessary. And he ends up meeting this man, Herbert Greenleaf, and Herbert Greenleaf is a really wealthy, I don't know if he's some kind of like a shipping magnate or something like that, and his son, Dickie Greenleaf, is off in Italy, and the father really wants Dickie to come home, so he offers to pay Tom's way if he'll travel to Italy to get Dickie to come back. And then Tom ends up kind of becoming really obsessed with Dickie. So they end up traveling all around Italy, and this dynamic between the three of them intensifies by the introduction of another character, Freddie. But I don't want to give too much of the plot away because it will ruin it. Picture of the ultra wealthy. It's another story about bad behavior, and it's a psychological thriller. So I think it would be a really fun addition to your reading list. And I think it's the same kind of atmosphere of sort of backstabbing and deceit and jealousy in these relationships. I think it would really pair well with Succession, even though it might not be the most obvious choice. You could also watch the film of The Talented Mr. Ripley as well, which might be kind of fun. It's actually a really good film as well. The fourth book I'd recommend, well, I'd really recommend anything by Bret Easton Ellis. Like, I'm not recommending American Psycho, but because I have my issues with American Psycho, but I haven't read all of Bret Easton Ellis's books. So I will recommend the one that I know the best, which is Less Than Zero. Less Than Zero, it was also made into a film, so you could also watch the film of Less Than Zero. The film of Less Than Zero is also really popular and pretty good, so you could do both of those things. It's really a look at really rich kids in the 1980s. It's about the main character, Clay, who comes home for Christmas to LA from the East Coast and tries to get back together with his old girlfriend, Blair, and there's a lot of drugs. It gives you the vibe of the 1980s in Wealth, and it's very similar to some of the scenes in Succession, some of the kind of ridiculous, hollow parties and drug scenes and all of that from Succession. Going to big mansions and doing a lot of drugs, and the feeling of desperation and lack of fulfillment that you get when you're really wealthy and you can do that. So I think it makes a lot of sense as a potential pairing. And the last book that I'm going to recommend is similar. It's a book that I read a long time ago, but I really, really enjoyed. And I think it might have also been made into a film. It was also made into a film, so you could also watch it. The Bonfire of the Vanities by Tom Wolfe, which I read long time ago. It's also set in the 80s, which makes a lot of sense. But it's the story about ambition, and it's a drama story. It's also about politics and greed in the 1980s, and it's set in New York City. And it centers around three main characters: Jewish Assistant District Attorney Larry Kramer, the bond trader Sherman McCoy, and the British expat named Peter Fallow. So these are kind of three horrible characters, and it's really about how they're big egos and they're kind of deep sense of self-hatred and worthlessness leads to the destruction of their lives, which I think fits very well with some of the themes that are explored in Succession. As I said, I didn't talk about any of the nonfiction books, but of course there are plenty of nonfiction books that you could read that are about media companies and media tycoons. There's books on Ted Turner, there are books on the Koch brothers, there's books on there's the Empire of Pain about the Sackler family. There's so many books that you could read if you want a nonfiction option. I wanted to look at the fiction. But the honorable mentions that I wanted to give were to two books that were actually shown in different episodes of Succession. There's the obvious connection to Shakespeare, which we also don't have to cover. The obvious connection to King Lear, and I would say also Julius Caesar, and I guess Hamlet. There's an episode where I think Connor is reading The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Two honorable mentions. There are two books that people have mentioned they've seen the characters reading on the show. The first is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney that Shiv is reading, I think at the end of season 2. She's on a yacht and she's reading this book, and it's kind of funny because I'm not sure that Shiv actually has any friends, so maybe that's why she has to read a book about people in friendships. Now, I haven't read any Sally Rooney, so I can't comment any deeper on that, but if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below. And then there's also a reference to Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. People have also talked about reading other Dostoevskys in relation to Succession. In the episode Lion in the Meadow in season 3, episode 4, Josh Aronson, the beanie-wearing billionaire, was reading a copy of Crime and Punishment, which is a really interesting choice as well to have in the show. If you haven't read Crime and Punishment yet, it's a story about a man who, well, I don't want to give too much away. It's a story about a man who commits a crime. I'll leave it at that. All about the fallout after he commits a crime. So that was also, I thought, really interesting. So those are my two honorable mentions. If you notice any other books being read in the show and you're a big fan, let me know in the comments below. So that's it, everyone. Those are my recommendations for what to pair with Succession. Let me know in the comments below if there are any books that you think would be fantastic to read if you're a fan of Succession, because I know that when the series is over, I'm going to be looking for something. Anything. And let me know if you want to see me do more of these types of videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! And also, Jonathan Franzen is mentioned by Nan in season 2. I don't know if she actually references the book The Corrections, but she does reference Jonathan Franzen. So you might want to read one of his novels. He has a new one out called Crossroads, and I haven't read anything by Jonathan Franzen, so you can let me know in the comments below if you think that they're good. But I know that they're about family dramas and dynamics and relationships. But he made this up. The description: it is about a young man seeking his way through the world. It's set, oh, sorry for the noise outside. The kids are on an outing. That's gonna make for some noise. If you don't know, now you know. If you didn't know before, now you know. There's so many references to Shakespeare. I don't know, she could be reading it ironically because she doesn't have any friends.